Todd Gilliland is no longer a full-time Cup Series driver. We'll get into that deal. The Jimmie Johnson legacy talk takes off. The Kyle Busch incident. Connor Daly's racing the Daytona 500 and just so much more. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, Todd Gilliland is no longer a full-time Cup Series driver. In a controversial move, Zane Smith will split time with Todd Gilliland for at least 6 races, possibly more. Let's get into that story real quick. This from Austin Kunisicki at the Sports Nod. Zane Smith will drive the number 36 car in the 2023 Daytona 500. However, he will also compete in the number 38 car in up to 6 races during the season: Phoenix, Talladega, Sonoma, Texas, the Charlotte Roval, and one more undetermined race will be on Smith's schedule. This means Todd Gilliland, the current driver of the number 38, will only run 30 races as a part-time driver. Gilliland, 22, finished his rookie season with 1 top 5 finish, 2 top 10 finishes, and 23.2 average finishing position. So you see there, he actually had a pretty good rookie season by all measures. In fact, he got the first top 5 for the number 38 number for Front Row Motorsports. So he didn't have a terrible season or anything like that. This seems to be driven by Zane Smith's sponsor wanting to have more races. And as it was explained by the owners of Front Row Motorsports, they didn't want to keep bringing their Truck Series team over to the Cup side and putting that responsibility on the Truck Series team. So they decided it would be in their best interest to just combine both of those drivers into that one car for the 6, 7, or 8 races that it is going to happen. And let's see Todd Gilliland's reaction from it. Todd Gilliland said, "As you guys have heard, I won't be full-time in the 38 this year. It was a shock when they told me, and I'm disappointed. We're working really hard to still be behind the wheel for the races I will be missing and plan on putting our best foot forward all season." So there you go. That was his reaction to it. He said he is going to seek out some other races. Hesselberg Racing has reached out and said, hey, maybe we can make something happen over here in the 27. So it is a good possibility for those 6 to 8 races, however many races he is going to not be the driver of the 38 car. He could be over there in the 27 for Hesselberg with, I can't say the name. I can say Remy Brothers, but I guess it's Rayum. Rayum Brothers are going to come over there and help them as well. So look for that. This from Darian Gillen at Black Flags Matter. Mike Davis saying, I don't want to see people like William Byron or Ross Chastain pass Jimmie Johnson. I think it taints his legacy. Got to be a new meme template. I don't want to see people like Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick pass BJ McLeod. I think it taints his legacy. So, of course, a lot of this has been made over Mike Davis and his comments, and on his podcast, Denny Hamlin made a very similar comment about tainting Jimmie Johnson's legacy. Here's where I stand on it. When you think about Michael Jordan, when you think about Muhammad Ali, you don't think about Michael Jordan with the Wizards. You don't think about his legacy being tainted. You don't think about Ali boxing too long and, not being good in his later years. You don't think about that stuff. You always think about those guys in their prime. So all this talk about it tainting Jimmie Johnson's legacy and all this other crap, nobody's going to remember Jimmie Johnson really in IndyCar. It's not going to taint his legacy. Nobody's going to really remember Jimmie Johnson if he runs poorly in the 84. And the second part of this that I wanted to say is what a level of disrespect toward Alex Bowman and William Byron. What do you have against them? Do you think that they are not good race car drivers? Jimmie Johnson was passed by a lot of guys, even in his prime, that were not as good as William Byron and Alex Bowman. So I don't know what Mike Davis is going on about, but that is pretty much the stupidest comment that has probably ever come out of that man's mouth. Adam Stern reporting, Connor Daly is attempting the Daytona 500 with the money team. Connor is like a hungry fighter, my kind of guy. I sure wouldn't bet against him, said Floyd Mayweather. So they couldn't get the deal done with Helio Castroneves, Spider-Man, but they did get the deal done with Connor Daly. So Connor Daly will be in that 50 car for the Daytona 500. So add another car trying to lock their way in on qualifying speed or race their way in the qualifying races with Connor Daly and the money team. According to Bob Pockrass, Zares Transport to sponsor Kyle Busch in his 5 truck races in the KBM number 51 truck for the 2023 schedule. Vegas, Coda, Martinsville, Kansas number 1, and Pocono will be the races that he races. And of course, that is not the only Kyle Busch news. Of course, he was detained for not doing right and almost put in adult timeout in Mexico for bringing his super soaker that is not registered in Mexico. And let's look at how he sort of got off from that particular deal. This from Jerry Jordan at Kicking the Tires. Slow lane, breaking down the Kyle Busch deal in Mexico. Champion may have avoided spending 3.5 years in adult timeout. Based on Mexican law in 2015, a person over 18 who takes responsibility for their crimes is sentenced to less than 4 years in timeout, can pay a type of supplemental restitution or fine to avoid serving time. Mexican law uses the term pecuniary healing in explanation of how this is possible. Under Chapter 5, Section 29 of the Code, the penalty compromises the fine and repair of damage. The fine consists in the payment of an amount of money to the state, which will be fixed for days fine, which will not exceed 1,000, except in the cases of the law itself's point. The fine day is equivalent to the daily net perception of the sentenced person at the time of the crime, taking into account all his income. So there you go, for everybody wondering why Kyle Busch got off for doing what he did. Whether you think it was an accident, whether you think it was on purpose, this is the reason that he got off, because under that particular set of laws or particular set of rules, whatever you want to call it, if you have a thing like that happen, you can just pay the fine and go back to going about your business. So that puts a bow on that, obviously, because some of the terminology in there, not really friendly to be talking about on this particular platform. And to finish things off, Red Bull says it is now so strong commercially that it is turning down more sponsor opportunities than it is accepting, a remarkable claim that is reminiscent of the ones made by NASCAR teams in the series' glory days. And of course, F1 also extended its Las Vegas race in the United States through 2032. So big moves in the F1 deal. But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting comment, because I do remember those days in NASCAR where the big teams were actually turning down more sponsors than they were taking in. And now we have reached this point where teams are basically always looking for sponsors all the time. So it's just crazy how the sport goes. So I hope they enjoy it over there in F1 while it is going on like that for them, because those days obviously will not last forever. So enjoy it while it lasts, boys. Cash in, make all the money, because it's not going to last forever. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. All your subscriptions help out this channel a whole lot, and I really do appreciate them. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you guys as well. If you got a comment, question, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.